Hi fans of high quality entertainment, I'm going to talk about two different things. One, a book on Paul McCartney, and also the Get Back documentary. Just some more thoughts I've had since watching more of this. So I've seen it twice on Disney, and then for a few months I never watched it again. And I finally decided to buy it on Blu-ray, and I'm probably about halfway through watching it. So I'm in half of part 2. So I'll talk about this in a minute. I won't talk about this at all. But first, I want to talk about this really excellent book, Paul McCartney, Music is Ideas, The Stories Behind the Songs, Volume 1, 1970 to 1989, by Luca Perassi. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. So there it is. And I think I showed this on my ASMR channel, but I've read a bit more of it since then, and I just wanted to let you know what I think about it. And also, I'm planning to interview the author. I follow him on Twitter, he follows me, and he's agreed to be interviewed about this book. I just need to read it a bit more. Like I told him, I've read about 5% of it. But I absolutely know, I've enjoyed everything I've read so far, and so it is an excellent book. And right away when I got it from Amazon, it was like, oh my God, it's a big book. I didn't think it would be that large of a book. So I was impressed as soon as I got it. And then I opened up the book and it was all blank, and then I wasn't impressed anymore. It's one of my jokes. There's some humor in my videos. So what this book does, it goes from all of his albums, starting with McCartney, of course, in 1970, goes through his whole discography, but of course it says Volume 1 because there is going to be Part 2. So it ends in 1989. And so what happens here is you go to the beginning after a very long foreword, which is excellent. Prologue is what it's called if you're being technical. So there it is there. McCartney from 1970, his debut album. Has side 1, side 2, all songs composed by Paul McCartney. Recording, it lets you know when everything was recorded, the locations, producer, release date. Then it goes into what I like to call a spiel. Just talking about the album, renowned because its release had coincided with what the Beatles historians consider the announcement of the end of their career, and for the wave of controversy that surrounded its release, the album McCartney is indicative of Paul's artistic character in many ways. So it just goes on for a page or two. Then it goes into the individual songs. And I love these kind of books. As you know, I buy a lot of these books. I have probably over 20 of them. And it's the same kind of idea, but this book is, there's a lot more to it. So yeah, it just goes into each individual song and gives information about it. Some, I know, I've read a lot of Beatles books and, online, I've learned things, but I'm still learning things with this book. That's why I'm saying it's highly recommended. And yes, I did buy this book with my own money. So it's not a sponsored video. Yeah, so, some of them are fairly long and then some are a little shorter. For the song Ooh You, it says recording right there, the recording dates and everything. And then a couple of paragraphs. Another piece added to the album at the last minute. I didn't even know that. Ooh You is inspired by Linda. The track started off in December 1969 at Cavendish Avenue as an instrumental. I did know that. Based on the opening guitar riff. Only during the overdub sessions at Morgan Studios in February 1970 did Paul add his vocal part and had fun putting together some generic lyrics referring to a female figure. And then it just goes on and on. So, like I said, it'll go through each song. Maybe I'm Amazed, Crean, a Crory, which I can never pronounce. And then, at the end, other songs from that period that weren't on the album. Womankind, I guess that's the only one. And then Another Day, Oh Woman, Oh Why, the singles. So, I don't know. If you're a Beatles fan and you enjoy reading books on the Beatles, I highly recommend this. And there's some pictures, some newspaper clippings throughout. Then it goes into Ram. So at the end of Ram are, of course, other songs from the sessions. Sessions. It's one of the words I love saying. Now hear this song of mine, which it might be on my box set, but I don't remember it. A Love for You, Hey Diddle, I remember that one. Rode all Night, and there's, a long few paragraphs of it. Sunshine Sometime, Great Cock and Seagull Race, Uncle Albert Jam, When the Wind is Blowing, Indeed I Do. So I will have a link. Remember, it's not sponsored though. So you don't get anything off of the book from me. And I'll have a link for the Amazon Canada and the Amazon US. And I'm sure it's, of course, in the UK also. Or in any bookstore. I've seen this in the local bookstore. And, other singles, Give Ireland Back to the Irish, Band on the Run, Red Rose Speedway, all of the albums, and goes through them all. That's why I said I've only read, maybe not even 5% of it, because there's so much to take in. Then London Town, Back to the Egg, McCartney 2, we're getting near the end. Then We All Stand Together humming version. Spies Like Us, My Carnival. And then the album Press to Play. So I haven't read any of this yet. I'm really looking forward to reading. Even All the Best, his compilation, talks about that. And Once Upon a Long Ago. Back on My Feet, Atlantic Ocean, and then the Russian album. And I believe it ends with, Flowers in the Dirt is the last album. But like I said, there's going to be a part 2. So highly recommend it. So go out and order it soon or today. And I really look forward to talking to Luca. And just the other thing I wanted to say is I did a live chat with Glenn and some other people last night, and I kind of brought this up. And Glenn and I and Sam St. John and one or two other people, we're going to do a pre-recorded chat on Friday, so I'll probably post it on Saturday or Sunday. And we're going to talk, well, we're going to talk about the Beatles, but I would really like to focus on this documentary because I've kind of changed my, well, I changed my mind about buying this. When this first came out and there were no bonus features, I was, you know, one of those fans, I'm not buying it, there's no bonus features. I got mad. And, you know, then I thought it over recently and I did buy it. And what I would like to say is, you know, like I said, I'm halfway through part 2, and there's some boring parts in it. You know, there's one part that was actually annoying, at least the third time I watched it. It's when Paul's reading a magazine, or I think it's a newspaper, and he just goes on and on in this, he's, you know, in this silly voice, mocking voice, and but he's going on reading it for like over 5 minutes, and it gets tiresome. Like, I guess it's okay the first time, but and parts of part 2 do drag a bit, but I'm glad we have it. Like, I'm glad, even the boring parts, I'm glad we have this. And that's why I've started to change my mind. It's like, do we really need any more? Like, the way I look at it, we are so lucky to finally, after all these friggin' years, to have, what is it, like over 6 hours, maybe 7 hours of footage in excellent, you know, quality. And we can have it on a Blu-ray if we want, or we can just continue watching it on Disney Plus. And, you know, if it came out in the future with bonus material, of course, I'd enjoy it. But I'm just saying, sometimes, you know, us Beatles fans get a little spoiled and we don't appreciate what we actually have. So I'm so happy. Thank you, Peter Jackson and everyone else who worked on this. Thank you that we actually have this to enjoy. And that's it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.